Greetings, everybody. Redbeard here for the May 25th, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update. If you weren't aware, this past Monday's edition of Raw was the 1200th episode. If you do the math, that's just over 108 days worth of Raw. If you're like me and you've watched most all of them, it's going to make you question some decisions you've made. Yeah. Number 5 story of the week is, could there be a feud brewing between AAW and PWX? This is an extension of the events coming out of PWX's Believe the Hype event this past weekend in Gastonia, North Carolina, where John Skyler was attempting to defend his PWX World Championship against Sami Callahan's AAW Championship. It wound up that Skyler was deemed unable to continue by referee Charles Culler. This was kind of an MMA style finish where you had a combatant that was essentially ruled as being unable to continue the fight. And it wound up that Skyler did, in fact, lose the PWX Championship to Sami Callahan. So now he holds both the AAW Championship and the PWX Championship. That has a lot of potential in terms of some feuds that could happen and that belt floating around, or belts I should say. What may happen in the future will probably most likely be determined at the forthcoming June 18th PWX event. That will be their Expect Everything event. There's been a few other bits of news floating around this feud here as well. Perhaps biggest of all being some cryptic messages that have been made by John Skyler on social media in the past couple of days. The idea of him potentially leaving, going somewhere else, saying, I'm done, it's over, it's finished, yada yada yada. Could that be some type of change in his gimmick? Should that be him maybe perhaps moving on to an NXT somewhere up north, out west? Who knows what that might be actually signaling, but he definitely appears to in some way, shape, or form be finishing up around this area. One other thing that I'll mention is that the original plan for Believe the Hype PWX event that was this past weekend was for Skyler to have defended the title against Zack Sabre. As you may know, Sabre was unable to make the show because of an injury that he suffered overseas. Sabre has, however, been rescheduled. He will be at the June 18th PWX event, and he'll be taking on none other than Cedric Alexander. That is a dream matchup if ever you could think of one in terms of independent talents that have never crossed paths before, and definitely will be putting on one hell of a show, that's for sure. So if you have not already, definitely make plans to attend and look forward to what's in the store for us in the future between AAW and PWX. Number 4 story of the week is that local talent were featured on the May 16th, 2016 edition of Monday Night Raw. Had a couple of guys who were able to get opportunities there, including John Skyler, who we were talking about in the number 5 story of the week. You had him out there with his bruiserweight ally in Corey Hollis. Kind of strange thing though was that both of those men have been featured on NXT for a number of months here. They've appeared not only on NXT TV tapings but also on NXT live events. Both of them are their names of John Skyler and Corey Hollis. They appeared on Raw with CH and Skyler on their tights, and yet WWE in their infinite wisdom decided to give them some different names. You had Scott Jackson, was otherwise known as John Skyler, and Brian Kennedy was Corey Hollis. It's particularly funny because of the fact you had the CH on his tights and it's Brian Kennedy. So yeah, just very funny, very odd things there. But they had an opportunity to go out and compete in the debut match of the Shining Stars, which are of course the repackaged Los Matadors in the term, or in the shape of Epico and Primo. You also had a couple of the guys who were able to make the show who were out there as security, and those were Jackson James, Brady Pierce, Darius Lockhart, and Crucifix, all guys who've been around the Carolinas indie scene for quite some time. Definitely a good opportunity for them to get out there and be a part of a big production like that as well. So I want to congratulate all 6 of those men on an opportunity to get on the radar of WWE. Not as though they weren't already, but definitely an opportunity for them to get out there, be seen, and enjoy the chance to work for a company the size of WWE. Number 3 story of the week is the announcement that SmackDown will be moving to a new night and also be going live starting in July. This is a big story, and I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of insider info here, at least as far as it relates to the midweek update. We normally film this show on a Tuesday for publication on Wednesday. I'm shooting this on Wednesday for release on Wednesday. A little bit odd there, a little bit of quick turnaround, but it is the way it is sometimes. This just came out this morning. This is brand new information, and it's definitely setting the internet on fire as far as the news sites and dirt sheets are concerned. The announcement was made, and I'm referring to some notes here, so I haven't had a chance to read through everything just yet. An announcement was made by Shane and Stephanie on WWE.com this morning that the show will be going live on July 19th and that there will be exclusive members of the roster to SmackDown. What you're talking about there is what's been rumored for a while, that there will be some type of a brand split, potentially to where you have 3 touring brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, operating under the WWE umbrella. Definitely seems as though we're approaching that. Now that they've made that announcement, it also goes into the possibility of them having a draft. And by part of the story that WWE released this morning, it definitely would seem that's going to be part of this, like to be part of the statement that they released. It says, this bold move will have major ramifications for all of WWE and exemplify the new era. New era in capitalization as if it's got a pronoun behind the scenes there, as both Raw and SmackDown will feature their own unique rosters and rivalries following an imminent superstar draft. So that definitely seems as though we're going back a few years and revisiting what was, in some people's minds, a colossal failure, that being the draft and the brand split and whatnot. You're going to have a lot of issues to overcome in this, but this is at least an exciting new thing that will potentially allow a lot of talent that's been frustrated on the roster to do some things that are different, to move around, and not be stuck in the same old here forever. So we're really interested to see what this has in store for the new era, as it's being referred to in WWE, and definitely looking forward to seeing what the implications will be down the line. Number 2 story of the week is Adam Rose, Cody Rhodes, and also Eden have all been released by WWE. These were 3 talents that, despite what some of the news has been in regard to Adam Rose, all requested their releases from the company. And this is something that's come about for very different reasons, it would seem, as well. In the case of Rose, it seems as though, even though he hasn't made a public statement, this is his effort to go ahead and just say, okay, I made mistakes, I'm going to bow out of the company, I'm not going to wait around for however long it takes for them to actually fire me. I'm just going to go ahead and bow out, which is admirable because it gives him an opportunity to maybe, pursue a different interest, get cleaned up, whatever he's got to do to get himself back on the right track there, not only with himself personally, but also in terms of relationship with his wife. I think a lot of us are still pulling for the guy, especially after, we've said multiple times on the show here that so many people were looking forward to seeing big things out of him after that ESPN 30 for 30 special. But moving on to perhaps the biggest aspect of this announcement, Cody Rhodes' departure. This is a guy who has obviously been through a number of different characterizations in terms of his development as a WWE superstar. It looked as though he was really getting frustrated at the start of his character, though, and you can't really blame him for that. Someone who's as talented as him, who's been able to really hit everything that's been thrown at him out of the park, for him to come across and say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm frustrated creatively, I'm going to go ahead and do my own thing. That's a pretty big step, and it reiterates a statement and a sensation that's been repeated multiple times by people who've been under WWE's employ, most notably someone like CM Punk, or perhaps I should say most recently CM Punk. Pretty much the same reasons that he decided to depart the company as well and do something on his own terms, which is definitely what it seems like Cody's going to do. But I wanted to read part of his statement that he released on Twitter because it was really profound in my opinion. He wrote on Twitter, I felt like I had a bag of those brass rings, and when it came time for me to cash them in, I find I can't do so. If that isn't the statement of a man who's frustrated with what's going on in his life, I don't know what is. And that's just kind of terrible in my opinion, because here again, someone with the pedigree of his nature, and definitely the talent of his nature, to essentially have ideas that he's trying to throw at the wall be unheard and unresponded to by WWE Creative is really something else. It's really just a sign of the times in terms of not only the number of people who are actively on the roster, in terms of there only being space for so many guys on TV, on live shows and whatnot, but also in terms of saying, hey, we've got, talents that could be doing something for us that they're just essentially being told to stay home. It is what it is. It's kind of frustrating. I couldn't imagine what it's like to be on the roster and be in that position. But in terms of Eden of course is otherwise known as Brandy Rhodes, Brandy Runnels. She's the real life wife of Cody Rhodes. She essentially is leaving more or less because Cody is leaving, but also because she's got some outside interests as well. So definitely a weird set of scenarios. And it could be that here in a couple of months that we hear from these people again. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, all 3 are gone from WWE. And the number one story of the week is our reaction to the WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Good show overall, a lot of fun matches, some that fell a little flat, but that just is going to kind of happen. The Intercontinental title match, I don't think is going to be something that they come close to replicating here anytime soon. That was definitely a match of the year contender. 4 guys who went out there and all 4 of them hit a home run. You could kind of say it was a grand slam if you want to even use that greater baseball analogy there. The other big matches on the card were, of course, the WWE Heavyweight Championship, which was, to use AJ Styles' moniker, phenomenal. You had a lot of crazy spots in there, and then you had a match like the women's match, which I'm not ragging on women's wrestling. They were doing a great job out there up until the finish. And this has been a recurring theme in the women's division, to where the heel champion just has to have some type of assistance in getting over. I don't know why we can't just have, a women's champion who's not tied to someone else. Let Charlotte go. She ditched Rick on Raw this past week. She doesn't need Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is only going to be a hanger-on. I hate to say it, but that's pretty much all she's ever going to be. So that match there was good up until the end. Same could kind of be said for some of the other stuff. You had the Baron Corbin and Ziggler match, which is a continuation of a feud that really doesn't have much of a point other than to introduce Corbin to audiences and to further solidify Ziggler as the ultimate jobber at this point in time. They're going to have a technical wrestling match here at some point in the near future. That's what they were talking about overall anyway. Then you have the United States Championship, which is, I'm kind of under the impression at a transitional point in time, because with them taking the belt off of Kalisto, it looks as though Rusev could be maybe the first, I won't say victim, but the first person that Cena goes through whenever he returns from injury here. Definitely looks that way, and Rusev could benefit from it, because he's at at apex in terms of what he's been doing with the company for a while anyway. Good to see him and Lana kind of clicking on all cylinders there, because they've kind of been given the reins to dictate what happens with their characters now that they're both outside the umbrella of the League of Nations. Other matches that we'll mention, of course, were the Asylum match. Kind of fell flat. It was more or less just them climbing around and saying, okay, here, I found this, I'll hit you with it. The thumbtack spot at the end was nuts, of course, because I don't think a lot of people expected Jericho to be the one to take those, but hell, talk about things in the grand scheme of wrestling that have got to hurt more than anything else. I couldn't imagine what that's like. I don't even want to think about it, to be honest with you. But overall, very entertaining show. Definitely a program that's worth your time and checking out. If you haven't, go ahead and dial it up on the old WWE network there and give it a shot. One thing that we're also going to be dialing up here this weekend is a couple of good live action shows. Not a whole lot going on this weekend. Of course, it is Memorial Day weekend, so hopefully you've got plans to spend time with your family and pay tribute, as it is definitely a part of tradition there. Want to go ahead and say that we've only got 5 shows that we're aware of this weekend, which of course is in contrast to the 20 or so we've been reporting the past couple of weeks. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and roll those posters for you. We'll be back to bring home the show here in a few moments. There you have it, a rundown of the events that are coming your way this weekend. If you're a promoter, a wrestler, or in some way involved with a wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your poster on that part of the program, because we didn't know about it. We do our part to peruse social media and to keep ourselves abreast of what's happening in this part of the world, but we do miss things. That said, if you would go ahead and send us a line via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, email, any of the means that are available to you, we'd be glad to get your poster out there and promote your show. It's a big part of what we do here on Rasslin with Redbeard. Do want to bring up one more thing before we close out the show. It was reported past couple of days by a lot of the local community in terms of the wrestling scene around here that a gentleman by the name of Randy Nichols, who many of you may know otherwise as Lance Gaylord, did pass away. It's very sad news that we're relaying here. Unfortunately, Randy was in a car accident earlier this year, back in February. He looked to have been making something of a recovery, but he did pass away as a result of his injuries. We want to send out heartfelt sentiment to his family and friends and hope that they can at least be comforted by the fact that he is remembered by many as being not only a good person, but also a fantastic in-ring performer and competitor. So I want to definitely send tribute to him as we close out the program here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week.